Get ready for an insightful journey into Australia's response to the Vietnam War crisis in today's Q&A episode. We'll shine a spotlight on the refugees who found sanctuary in the land down under. What was the wider public's response? Did the White Australia policy affect any of these people? How did our case study, Dai Li, manage to make such a successful life here in Australia? Today, we will answer many of these controversial questions. I'm Jeffrey Yu, and joining us is renowned historian Dr. Avi Jha. Tonight, he will answer many of these burning questions. So, why were there so many refugees fleeing Vietnam?
From November 1st, 1955 to April 30th, 1975, an extremely costly conflict was unleashed between the United States of America and South Vietnam against communist-based North Vietnam. The conflict was ignited by overflowing political tensions of the Cold War, where there was a race to establish ideological dominance between the capitalist West and the communists.
That's a staggering number. What military strategies contributed to this high civilian death toll?
Several military operations played a significant role in high civilian casualties. One of the most infamous ones was Operation Rolling Thunder, orchestrated by the United States from 1965 to 1968. This campaign involved extensive aerial bombing aimed at disrupting North Vietnam's transportation and industrial capabilities. However, it also led to massive civilian casualties, with estimates suggesting that over 30,000 innocent Vietnamese civilians were killed. The heavy bombardment indiscriminately affected populated areas, contributing significantly to the high civilian death toll.
Besides the direct combat, were there tactics used during the war that particularly affected Vietnamese civilians?
Yes, one of the most devastating ones was the use of chemical agents like Agent Orange. This herbicide was not only used to strip the jungle of vegetation to deprive the guerrillas of food, cover, but unfortunately, it also led to severe health complications among the civilian population due to its toxic contents.
Now, I believe the consequences of such chemicals are truly horrific, affecting generations.
Absolutely, impact was profound, with reports stating that around 400,000 civilians died from direct exposure, and millions more continue to suffer from long-term health effects.
With such severe impacts on their environment and health, it's clear why many felt compelled to flee.
Alongside the immediate threats, environmental destruction made vast areas uninhabitable, disrupting traditional ways of life and destroying infrastructure. This widespread devastation led to significant social and economic upheaval, factors that continue to affect Vietnam to this day.
The damage inflicted seems both immediate and enduring. How did this affect the generations that followed?
The legacy of the Vietnam War is indeed long-lasting. The environmental and health impacts of chemical warfare, combined with physical destruction, have continued to shape the lives of subsequent generations, marking a profound and enduring human cost of the conflict.
Many Vietnamese refugees encountered massive storms, pirate attacks, and had to rely on unseaworthy boats during their perilous journey across the Pacific. It's almost unimaginable how some, like the boat we see here in Source A, managed to reach safety.
Indeed, the journey was fraught with danger. An estimated 200,000 to 400,000 refugees lost their lives at sea. The boats were often inadequate for such voyages and frequently succumbed to the harsh ocean conditions.
This boat, skippered by Tu Do, is quite a testament to their courage and desperation.
Absolutely. Despite being grossly unseaworthy, it carried 38 refugees across the Pacific to Darwin Harbour, enduring severe storms and high seas. It now rests at the Australian Maritime Museum, symbolising the resilience and determination that characterised these refugees' quests for a new life in Australia.
I believe that this crisis led to a massive influx of refugees, right?
Yes, from 1975 to the 1990s, at the height of the crisis, as many as 1,000 refugees arrived each day, as indicated by this graph. This influx underscores the intense desire of the Vietnamese people to escape the dire conditions in their homeland. Their journey highlights not only the severe challenges they face, but also their profound hopes for a better future.
The stories of resilience among Vietnamese refugees are truly compelling. Could you share an example that brings their experiences to life?
Certainly. Dai Li's journey is a profound example. She famously once stated, any hard thing you experience in life makes you a stronger person. This statement underscores that remarkable resilience and determination these individuals summoned.
That's a powerful way to frame such intense experiences. It really illustrates the strength they found within themselves. Dai Li's address to the house in traditional Vietnamese attire underscores her deep connection to her roots. Given her harrowing journey as a refugee, how did Dai Li and others like her manage to persevere through such extreme conditions?
Dai Li vividly captures the gravity of her experience. She recounted, We nearly died on that boat journey. There was 50 of us crammed into a boat designed for 10. I remember the fear and the hunger, but also the profound relief when we were finally rescued by a Hong Kong patrol vessel. His testimony highlights not only the perils they faced, but also their remarkable resilience and determination to overcome adversity.
So, how did the broader public in Australia respond to the massive influx of Vietnamese refugees?
Despite the White Australia policy still being in place during the Vietnam War, the broader public in Australia was highly supportive of the incoming refugees.
That's quite interesting. Could you give us an example of how this support was demonstrated?
The Australian public was supportive of Operation Baby Lift. For example, the Australian Women's Weekly ran a 2-page article in April 1975 that emphasised the impact of war on Vietnamese children. This article captured the public's solid empathy for the war of refugees, and it also demonstrated the community's willingness to help those affected by the war.
That human touch seems crucial in shaping perspectives. How did this sentiment play out politically?
It had a profound impact. Initially, Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser faced significant criticism for his approach to the refugee waves in the 1980s. However, the shift in public opinion was undeniable, and it changed the political landscape, culminating in Fraser's loss to Bob Hawke. This change highlighted the growing acceptance and support for aiding refugees within the Australian community.
Despite the extreme dangers and challenges faced during their journeys, did any Vietnamese refugees manage to build a successful lives once they arrived in Australia?
Absolutely. Today, there is a thriving Vietnamese culture in Australia. According to the 2016 National Census, an impressive 200,000 people were born in Vietnam, shown in this graph with 2% of the Australian population being Vietnamese. Cabramatta, a town in Sydney, is one of Australia's most densely populated Vietnamese areas.
Now, let's dive into our case study for today. Picture this. A young refugee, carrying the weight of her dreams and aspirations, arrives in Australia in 1975. The odds are stacked against her, but she has an indomitable spirit. Her name is Dai Le. Can you tell us more about her journey and how she managed to rise to incredible heights despite facing immense challenges?
Certainly. Dai Le's journey is truly remarkable and inspiring. After fleeing Vietnam, she and her family spent 4 grueling years in refugee camps across Hong Kong and the Philippines. Finally, in 1975, they made it to Australia. These early years were incredibly tough for Dai and her family. They faced significant language barriers, cultural adjustments, and financial struggles. However, these challenges only strengthened her resolve.
It sounds like those early experiences must have been very difficult. How did Dai Le and her family manage to adapt and build a new life in Australia, given the immense challenges they faced as refugees?
Adaptation was a gradual process that required immense determination and hard work. Dai's mother worked tirelessly to support the family, and they all contributed in whatever the way they could. Education played a crucial role for Dai. She understood that it was the key to a better future, so she focused on her studies, which eventually paved the way for her career.
Education was clearly a significant part of her journey. Can you tell us more about how her career was developed?
Certainly. Dai Le excelled academically and initially pursued a career in law, where she was very successful. However, despite her achievements in law, she felt a deep need to help others and make a broader impact on society.
Dai Le now serves as a Member of Parliament for Fowler. How did she transition from a refugee to such a prominent position?
Dai Le's rise from a refugee to a Member of Parliament is truly remarkable. She now represents Australia's most multicultural electorates, overcoming significant challenges along the way. Her commitment to public service, particularly in her commitment of Cabramatta, is a hub for Vietnamese people in Australia, was crucial in a shift from law to politics. Her journey exemplifies the resilience and impact that Vietnamese refugees have contributed to Australian society.
Wow, Dai Le's journey is truly inspiring. It really shows how resilience and determination can lead to incredible achievements. As we wrap up tonight's interview with Dr. Avi Jha, it's clear that the journey of Vietnamese refugees, like Dai Le, is a testament to incredible resilience and determination. These individuals faced treacherous seas and the challenge of starting over in a foreign land. Yet, they transformed their hardships into success stories that inspire us today. Dai Le's rise from a young refugee to a prominent Member of Parliament in Australia embodies the strength and perseverance of the Vietnamese community, which have thrived against all odds. Thank you, Dr. Jha, for your insights. And to our viewers, thank you for joining me, Jeffrey Yu, on Q&A. Stay inspired, keep dreaming, and we'll see you next time.